Welcome and welcome back to my channel, Boomzibi Beauty. If you're new to my channel, my name is Juliana. Welcome to another monthly ranking. So today I'm going to be ranking all the palettes I used in the month of April. Although I used more than 15 palettes, I'm going to be ranking my top 15 today. I don't want these monthly videos to be longer than is necessary, so I'm going to be ranking my top 15. For example, such palette was one of the palettes I used in April, which I did feature in my panning video. Is on my Instagram, but again I've been featuring such palettes almost monthly now, so I'm going to be taking a break from such palette this month, so I'm not going to put it in my ranking, but it doesn't mean I didn't use it. Those looks are on my Instagram and it's been featured in one video or the other. So without further ado, let's get into ranking the 15 palettes. In 15th place is the Unearthly Cosmetic Capricorn palette, which used to be called Alien Cosmetics. So if you look at my palette, it's actually called Alien Cosmetic, but they are now called Unearthly Cosmetics, and this is the palette I'm ranking in the 15th position. So this is the inside of the palette, and I mainly use the oranges, the coral, really the orange and the coral in this palette. So it was this shade, that shade, and this shade, but because it's so close together, it kind of like just blended into one shade. I mean, fair enough, yes, they are similar colors, and I was kind of like going in gradients, and there wasn't really like so much variety in my look. You should be seeing the look as I'm ranking the palettes, so there wasn't so much gradient in the color I used. Was a mainly reddish pink orange look, and basically that's why I'm ranking it in the 15th position. Perhaps if I had used it, like for example like the one on my eye, used the different colors, yeah, I probably would have ranked it higher, but I mainly use the same set of tones, so I really can't judge too much the performance of the palette or what the palette can do. So I do intend to use this in more looks, because for the month of June and July I intend to go on a low buy no buy, so I'm going to be using a lot of my already existing palette, so I'll be able to kind of like dig more into this palette and give you my opinion. But for the sake of April and the way I used it and the colors I used in April, I'm ranking it in the 15th position. In 14th place is Nomad Tokyo palette, and I used these along with two other palettes in the same look. So it was like a mashup kind of look where I used two palettes. If you are new to my channel, on my channel I do tend to have mashup videos where I will use two or more palettes to do one look. So this was one of the palettes I used in such look, and it was a pastel look. So this was one of the three palettes I used. But for that look, I kind of didn't go so much into this palette, so I only used about, I believe it, 3 shades in this palette. So I didn't really like go in depth into the palette, and that's why I'm ranking it in the 14th position. I mean, I've given my opinion, a lot of opinion on this palette. I absolutely love the palette. If you look at my swatching video, my ranking of my pastel videos, I've talked about this palette a lot, but just for the look I did in April, it's been ranked in the 14th position. Alright, in 13th position is Mothership 9, which is the Utopian palette. Again, I used this as part of a look. So it was one of the two palettes I used, again in another kind of mashup video. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the inside of the palette. So this is the inside of the palette, and I think I mainly used the mattes, and I used this peach and this brown shade. Now I'm ranking this in 13th position because this peach, as you will see in the look, I used this in my inner corner. It didn't really have a lot of impact. It didn't pop. Yeah, it didn't really pop as I was expecting it to pop. Yeah, it is a peach color and it looks more pastel-y, but it's a Mcgrath palette. I was expecting more from this palette than I had. Even though I didn't kind of like use any other palette, I kind of left it the way it is, but you will see in the look, you couldn't really, you have to look closely to be able to see that peach in my inner corner. Then for this brown as well, it was not deep enough. I had to actually dig into the second palette to darken my outer corner. Yeah, because you look at the palette physically, and this kind of looks more orangey, more coral orangey than it appeared, and I was slightly disappointed with that. So yeah, so that's why I'm ranking it in the 13th position. In 12th place is Pimbi's Basic palette. So this is one of the Infinity palettes. There are a total of 14 of them. This is the only one that is an all matte palette. So this is an all matte palette, and it's called Basic. Again, I use this with another palette in the same look. Now, if you're new to my channel, I don't typically, unless I'm reviewing that palette for the first time, I don't typically use one palette for one look. I like to use one or two or even three palettes for the same look. So I used 2 palettes and this was one of them. Now I'm ranking this in the 12th position because of this purple. This purple let me down in the look. I know it's not deep enough. It didn't perform like a typical Pimby purple. The look I have on my eyes is Pimby, and this purple, you know, comes from the 7-7 palette, and it performed well. Even the one in Love Epidemic palette, very dark purple, but they still perform well. Now this is not as dark as them, so I was expecting these to really perform better than the darker purple. So this shade let me down. In terms of the other shade I use, I think the video should already be on my channel. It's a full face of Pimby, well, apart from foundation and concealer. Yeah, that's when I use this palette. I mean, the other shades I used, they were beautiful. Honestly, they were faultless. The only shade in this palette that really let me down is this purple, and that's why I'm ranking it in the 12th place. In 11th place is another Pimby palette, and this time around is the Glitter Obsession palette. So this is the first Glitter Obsession palette. She's got 2 on her website, so this is the first one that she came out with, and I'm ranking it in the 11th position. Now, nothing wrong with this palette, but as you know, one palette is going to come first and one is going to come last. And this is the inside of the palette. So it is a self-adhesive glitter palette, so you don't need any glitter glue, and I can definitely confirm that. So I believe I used about 3 of the glitters, or maybe 4. No, actually I probably used about 5, because I in the look I put some on my cheek as well as my eyes. So I did use at least 4 of the glitters. I definitely used this one here. I believe I used some of these red ones. I can't really remember the rest. I used some of the green. You should be seeing in the look as well the glitters I used. But this palette is gorgeous. If you're scared of glitter or you're scared of fallout, because I usually do my base first before I do my eye, and the glitters then fall on my face, it's absolutely amazing. I'm gonna swatch one of them. I try not to, this is not a palette that you can just swatch for the fun of it, because it's, some of them are like chunky and not that many in the palette. Like these ones, they are chunky, so it's not one I can just swatch for the fun of it, you know, in a video or anything like that. So I'm going to swatch one of the finely milled glitter, because there seems to be more in those pots than others. So these are 4 shades. It's absolutely beautiful. So all you have to do is press down. Can you see that? You just press down. Look at my, and it's not falling off, so you can just kind of like swipe onto the back of your hands or your eyes and just dab down. Then the next one, swipe down hard, and you can use any brush, but I use them silicone brush, but literally you can use your hand as well. I find that the finger is the best one, because you kind of press down and it just sticks to your eye. Yeah, but yeah, that's the glitter palette. So it's absolutely beautiful. It's not an everyday palette, definitely. It's when you are doing like, I don't know, some sort of extreme look or cut crease or whatever. But that day I just kind of like wanted to test it out. I didn't even intend to use glitter on the eyes. I was going to use shimmers. I just thought, let me try out this glitter, and I put it on the look. The matte I had already created. And another thing I like about the palette is that it cleans up well. It doesn't like go all over your face. I mean, look at that. I've just cleaned off glitter from my hand. Normally a normal glitter, it would be all over my hand, but this just kind of like comes off. You just pick the glitter flecks off your eyes or your hand or whatever it is, and it comes off so easily. Yeah, so for the month of April, I'm ranking the glitter palette in the 11th position. Now expect to see more of this palette on my channel. Definitely you'll be seeing loads of it, because it's just so easy to use. But for April, definitely, like I said, it's coming in at number 11. Alright, the palette I'm ranking in at number 10 is the Be Perfect Not Nudes palette. So this is one of 4 palettes that was released, I believe, in March, I believe. If it's not correct, I'll put it up, but it was released recently, literally in the last 3 months. So it's one of the 4. So this was the first one I used out of the 4. It's like a compass palette. I have a video on my channel swatching the palettes as well and doing some comparison with some Beauty Bay palettes. So this is definitely being ranked at number 10. and this is the inside of the palette. This palette was a joy to use, honestly, such a joy to use. Every single shade did what it was supposed to do. Even this yellow, it showed up where I put it. I used it to outline my crease, and it showed up where it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a subtle one, but it showed up. It was just a pleasure to use. I can't wait to use the other three in the set, but this was beautiful, gorgeous. I mean, you should be seeing the look now. I really enjoyed it. For a neutral palette, I'm not a neutral person, but I particularly like this one because of that pop of yellow. They kind of gave an extra oomph to the palette, especially this one as well. This what would you call this one, like in between brown and yellow? Yeah, but it was beautiful and it was such a joy to use. It blended beautifully. I don't think I got any fallout. There was no fallout from it. It just did what it was supposed to do. So I definitely enjoyed them using this palette. In ninth place is Glamlite Ice Cream Palette. Again, this is one of the three palettes I use for my pastel look. But I just enjoyed this palette more when it came to that particular look. Now, one of the palettes I use for this look is the Pimbi Washina palette, which I didn't include in this ranking because, again, I featured it, I believe, over 2 months now, or in one other video or the other. So I am not featuring it again. But that was the top palette I used in the look, just so you know. But for the ice cream palette, I definitely enjoyed using this palette. I enjoyed it so much that I put it as part of the palette I'm going to be panning. I put it in my panning project, basically just to kind of use it up. And also in another look, which you should be seeing now, I used this two green for my inner corner. Oh my days, it was beautiful. It was pigmented and it was beautiful. I mean, we all know what the ice cream palette looks like. It's such a beautiful and gorgeous palette. And for that pastel look I created, it just came out beautifully. All the shades I used for that look, I really enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed the experience, and I'm going to be using more of this palette. All right, in its place is PMG's Celestia Odyssey palette. This is the one she released for the holidays, I believe. So this is the one I use alongside Mothership 9. I mainly used shimmers from this palette, but I did use one matte, which is this brown. This is what I was talking about. I had to use this to darken the outer corner because the matte brown in the PMG 9 palette wasn't dark enough, so I had to dig into this. But I mainly used shimmers for that look. That look, again, like I said, is already on my channel, so I used all the shimmers. But all the shimmers I used, even the ones I didn't use that I swatched, they were just beautiful. The shimmers in this palette are beautiful. They are what make this palette. They are really what makes this palette. So for me, this one was a joy to use. Yeah, but I mean, it's just coming at A because I enjoy the other palette. I'm going to be ranking higher than it, more than this. But this one, I found no fault with. I definitely loved using this palette, and I'm looking forward to using it again. In 7th place is another Pimbi palette, and this time around is the Unexpected palette, again part of the Infinity collection. So this is an all grayish kind of palette, apart from this purple here. So for the look I created, I mainly used the gray, so this silver, this one, and this black one in the look. Again, I used this with another palette for an all gray look. But yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this palette, and you know, I've been enjoying this palette really for even for the fact that it's gray. I really like it. It blends so well. It's so pigmented. Even this whitish one here is absolutely pigmented. I mean, look at this. This is a beautiful palette. So if you love grays or you don't mind grays, yeah, this is definitely one palette to get. In 6th place is the Beauty Bay Jade collaboration palette. I don't even know what the name of the palette. I think it's just called Jade 42 color palette, and this is a collaboration with the British singer Jade with Beauty Bay. This is an absolutely gorgeous palette. I mean, it's a big palette, but it's so beautiful. And I mainly focused on the reds in this row. Those are the colors I use for my look, but they were beautiful. In other looks for previous months, because I've never included it in any of my ranking, but I've been using it previously. I've used some of the greens here, a bit of the purple here, but I never put it in a ranking. But because for this particular look, I used almost all of this row, and I absolutely enjoyed this palette. No fallout. It was just like your typical Beauty Bay formula. blended, diffused beautifully on my lid. I enjoyed using this palette definitely, and I'm looking forward to using it more and more because I mean it's got so many shades. It's an absolutely gorgeous palette, and it's a mixture of like your pastel, your normal shades. I mean, you won't look at it and think, yeah, maybe this can be a pastel palette, but if you just look at it and look at, for example, Natasha Denona's pastel palette, you will see a lot of those shades in this palette. This is a beautifully curated palette. Is so complete and so worth the money. I got it on sales, even better, but this palette is gorgeous. Okay, we are down to 5 palettes. From here on, all these 5 I absolutely love. So, but I've just got to put one in number 1 and I've got to put one in number 5. The palette I'm ranking in the 5th position is Pimbe's Graduated Grace palette. So this is the one I used in combination with the Infinity Grey palette, the Unexpected palette. The look I did with this palette is on my Instagram, but this is the palette. Absolutely beautiful. There's only one shimmer in this palette. It's got like a, I want to say like a satin shade on top, but the shimmer is just one. Yeah, I think this is satiny. It's not entirely matte, but this metallic silver, oh my word, is so beautiful. And it's also different to the one I combined it with, because when you look at it you almost want to think it's the same, but it's different, which was why both palettes were just a match made in Makeup Haven. So these are the 2 shimmers in the Infinity one, so they are definitely different. This is tending towards yellowish silver and this is definitely black metallic, but this silver, oh, so beautiful, gorgeous, and it melted on the lid. It was just so beautiful. I mean, I have a video on my channel swatching the Formula 2 palette. I got 3 of them in a mystery box and I've already swatched them. So, but yeah, this is a gorgeous palette. So if you love grays, this is another one to get your hands on. Yeah, but the Graduated Grays is being ranked in the 5th position. The palette I'm ranking in the 4th position is the Love Epidemic palette. Again, the tutorial for this palette is on my channel, so you can have a look at how this palette performs. But this palette is gorgeous. Yeah, what really propelled me to buy this palette was because of the red, but I love the purples in this palette more. These purples in this palette, especially the ones, the mix of the red and the purples, this row, this 4 shades here and this one, they are gorgeous. Honestly, this is an absolutely beautiful palette. I really wish I could have ranked this in the 1st position, but I haven't used all the shades in this palette. For example, I haven't used the red yet. Maybe when I do use the red and more shades in this palette, it will come higher up in my ranking for a different month. But for the shades I use in this palette, just because purple is not my absolute favorite shades, that's why it's only coming at number 4. But this palette is beautiful. I've used it sometimes in combination with other looks, but the reason I'm ranking the 4th position is based on the look I did with this palette, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This is beautiful. She recently had 50% off her palette, and I hope you did get this palette because that would have been a right bargain at 50% off. That would have been about $15. This palette is beautiful. If you haven't got your hands on it yet, next time it goes on sales, grab one before it sells out. This palette is beautiful and gorgeous. In 3rd place is Nomad Paradise Islands palette. So this palette I received as a gift, under no obligation to have reviewed it. I did 3 looks on this palette, and this palette I enjoyed. The thing about Nomad is with every palette they go up a notch. Their quality, either in terms of the matte or the shimmer, it just goes up a notch. I have a lot of Nomad's palette. I absolutely love the brand and I love all their shadows. They are just beautiful. They are purposeful and they are different and they are exciting because the formulas are different. They are kind of different to most brands. I don't know how to describe it. Their shimmers are, they're like a mix of satin, matte and shimmer in them, so they've got substance. Their shimmer you can actually use for a full look without using matte. I like to use matte before I put my shimmer, but because of the substance in their shimmer, you can actually use a shimmer completely without applying a matte. I love it, and this palette, it just betters all other palettes I've used from them, so that's definitely why it's coming higher up in my ranking. I mean, these are 5 shades from the palette. Like I said, I've already swatched this palette, but I'm just going to swatch these 5 shades. So swatching the one on my tongue first, This is a matte and it's absolutely gorgeous with this other matte green. Oh, I enjoy these shades, and these are the shimmers. Can you see what I'm talking about? It's got like grit in them. Let me just try and bring it closer. It's just beautiful, especially when you use with certain glitter primers. So I mainly use BH Cosmetic Base Booster for my glitter primer. With this glitter primer and this shimmers, oh, they were just a match. They really matched each other. It brought out the best in the shimmers. I definitely enjoyed all the three looks I created from this palette. It's such a gorgeous palette. I mean, you've got your pink, orange, peach and coral column here, then you've got your gradient of greens going into slightly a bit of blue, then you've got blue going into purple at the bottom. It's just beautiful. So yeah, I definitely enjoy this palette, and I'm looking forward to the next one they will be releasing very soon. So yeah, definitely enjoy this, and that's why I'm ranking it in the 3rd position. Alright, in 2nd place is Tammy Tanuka Peacock palette. This is actually the first palette I'll be buying from Tammy Tanuka. I have a lot of her single shade. I just decided to get a palette when she came out with this, and thank God I did, because we can't buy any more from Tammy Tanuka at the moment with what is going on. But I'm so happy I got this palette, and it's such a gorgeous palette. I mean, look at this. That is beautiful. I enjoyed using this palette. For the look I created, I used all of the 6 shades, and it was absolutely beautiful. I've never swatched this palette on my channel before, so I'm just going to quickly swatch it for you. Alright, since I've only got 5 fingers and there are 6 shades, I just kind of skipped on the darkest purple. But if I just start with this one on my thumb, I mean, look at that. Oh my days, absolutely beautiful. Oh, gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, and lastly that one. Oh, when you look at the palette, you kind of think that these are the same, but this is blue and this is purple. Absolutely beautiful palette. And look at my fingers. Look at that. Oh, Tammy Tanuka, honestly, the brand is just something else. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful shade. Yeah, this is the one I didn't swatch. I'm actually going to use the side of my hand to swatch it. Let's hope it doesn't contaminate. But yeah, that is these are all the 6 shades in the palette. I mean, look how beautiful. A £6 palette, absolutely gorgeous, and it was such a joy to use this palette. I wish I could have ranked this palette in the 1st position, but it would be very unfair and unjust to the palette I'm about to rank in the 1st position. This was beautiful. I can't wait to use it again. I've tested the palette fully. I've used all the 6 shades, but I'm just going to try and create another look from this palette. This, I don't know if you can see, is definitely a duochrome. I can see shifts of purple, pink, and a bit of creamish. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, but that's definitely a duochrome. Yeah, after using this palette, I definitely regret not having gotten the previous palette that she released, because I felt then that I didn't need them, because I had a lot of singles, you know, from her. But this is just so gorgeous. Yeah, this won't be the last you'll be seeing this palette. I intend to use this palette again. Hopefully I can do a look with it on this channel, but we would have to see. But I'm definitely going to be using this palette again. Alright, in 1st position, I have no choice but to rank this in the 1st position, because I enjoyed using this palette, and it's none other than Plain in Makeup by Yolando, the chrome palette. Oh, this is gorgeous. I wasn't gonna get this palette, but she did like a mystery box, a chrome mystery box, because I think the side of the palette was chipped or something, so she was doing a mystery box for $50. But that wasn't just what's in the box. There were other things. I have got 2 other things in the box, and the palette is originally $70. The mystery box was $50, and you got 2 other things. So basically I got 3 things for $50. Yeah, so it was definitely worth it to me, and that's how I came about having this palette. And honestly, I am so happy I got this palette. It's such a beautiful palette. This is a chrome palette. It is not a metallic palette. It is not a glitter palette. It is not a duochrome palette. It's chrome. I don't know how to explain the chrome feel to you, apart from maybe swatching, and maybe you will see, and also in the picture. This palette is gorgeous. What I like most about all the shades is that they adapt to the matte you use. So whatever color of matte you use, the chrome adapt to it, and it brings out the best in that matte. So you could use the same shade on a different color matte and it will come out differently. So beautiful. I'm just going to try and swatch as many shades as I can for you because this is just beautiful and exciting. All right, first 5 shades. So I'm going to swatch this upside down. This is one of my favorites. Look at that. So this is slick. It is oil slick. That's the best way I can describe it. But it's too cool. Absolutely beautiful. Then this one. So this one looks yellow, but at times it can come off as white. This is what I'm saying. So it depends on the matte you are using. I've used this shade, you know, in my inner corner with some looks, and it will come out almost whitish. So it does depend on, you know, the matte that you lay down. Do you see that? Do you see the beauty of that? That is absolutely beautiful. This palette is gorgeous. Can you see? There are 14 shades in total in the palette, so I'm swatching another 5. So the one on my thumb again, I'm going to be swatching upside down. Do you see that? Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, look at that. It feels like water. It feels like oil and water. This is how this one feels. Oh, so beautiful. Some of them have more substance in them than the others. So some are like oil slick. Like this one is definitely very light, almost like oil, whereas this ones, they've got like substance in them, you know, they've got grit to them, they've got like pigments. But ones like this, the sleek ones, when you put them on the lid, it looks like you have oil on your lid, almost like you have gloss on your lid. So beautiful. I don't know if the video of the high look is out already, but this was one of the palettes I used. I used it in combination with the 7/7 palette, and it's just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful palette. Yeah, so for me in April, this was the standout palette for me. Absolute standout. It deserved the first position. So beautifully palette. If you can get your hands on it, honestly, grab this palette. Run and grab this palette. Alright guys, that's my top 15 palettes of April, all ranked. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'll see you.